You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates national average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary. I got a DM this week from someone who said she keeps finding herself in the same situation, going all in, realizing something was off, then going back to square one. And she asked me, why do I keep ending up in this dynamic? And it got me thinking about the core reasons why commitments don't work out. And it's not because your picker is broken or that there's no one good out there. And it's not even necessarily that you're going too fast. And in this episode, we're going to get into the three core mistakes that we're making when choosing who to commit to for a long term relationships so you can avoid them in the future. And we'll get into what to focus on so you can make the right choice. Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease, whether you've been dating for a while or you're just starting out. I believe dating can be fun, and I'm here to help you enjoy the process. And part of enjoying the process is consciously making choices in your dating life that align with the most secure and grounded version of yourself, which we all know is very hard to tap into when we catch feelings and emotions run high. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions in dating is that the emotional roller coaster is what makes it fun. But let's face it, too many rides on an emotional roller coaster is going to make you sick and want to leave the park, meaning quit dating altogether. So, in this episode, we're going to get into how you can avoid chasing the highs so you don't fall into those deep lows that make you want to stop dating because this is a marathon. And avoiding these mistakes that I see over and over and have made myself is going to help you stay the course and keep going. This episode is going deep, but if you need answers to quick questions, I want to remind you that you can always get my free dating FAQ guide, which includes answers to over 50 common dating questions that come up all the time. Questions like, what do I do when they fall off the grid? Or how do I handle it if they say they want to be friends but don't want to date? Or even things like, what do I do when they're so incredible but they have financial issues or their work hours suck? So you can get this free dating FAQ guide in the show notes, or you can head to datingintentionallypod.com/gift and get it because you'll have all these answers at your fingertips just ready to go. So I'm going to get into the three core mistakes I see my clients and my listeners make along the way that lead them to dead ends in dating. But I hope that by laying them out here in this episode, you'll be more aware of them so you can catch yourself before you even go down yet another dating dead end. And of course, I won't just talk about what to avoid. We'll also talk about what to look for as well. And then at the end, we'll get into a dating dilemma. There is no shame or blame here, by the way. I have made all these mistakes myself. And instead of feeling all the shame or guilt or self blame, we can take the lessons, show self compassion for ourselves for doing the best we can with the information that we had at the time, and move forward. That's all we can do. All right, the first mistake is dating for potential. So this is a common mistake. We know this one, but I've been seeing it over and over in my one-on-one coaching sessions lately, and here's how it usually goes. Let's unpack it step by step. We start with a fiery connection early on. You meet someone after a streak of lukewarm dates or bad connections, and it feels special. And that scarcity mindset, like feeling like you'll probably never run into a connection like this again, keeps you in the relationship, even though early on you see and experience things that are a little questionable, you're not a huge fan of. Maybe you feel anxious when you're apart because they rarely text, or they tell you they want to go with the flow when you ask what their intentions are and you're ready for the real deal. Or maybe they just got out of a long, toxic relationship and they're not ready to commit, but the connection is so strong and you feel so good when you're with them that you want to stay even though you want commitment, like yesterday. So then you get in this position where you see how they could be as your partner. Maybe they were in an 8-year relationship before they met you, so you know they're capable of commitment. Or maybe they're overwhelmed because they just switched jobs. And you think, well, when that calms down, they'll be more responsive and available. Or maybe you just think, if they see how amazing I am to be with, they'll change. This was a story I bought into for years until I realized that's not how it works. Maybe, you try to leave even at a certain point. Maybe you recognize, like, okay, I'm dating for potential. This is not going to happen. But they keep reeling you back in because they're getting their needs met and they're getting all the benefits of your company without committing to you. And you feel like, okay, since they're trying to get me to stay, right? They're asking you to stay. They'll be like, I'll change, I'll get better. Maybe they do care about me. And here's the thing, they probably do care about you. But by staying with you, even though they know you want something they can't give you, they're showing you they care about themselves more. And this is how you get caught up in someone else's experience of being lost and lacking direction, right? You're not the one who doesn't know what they want. You're not the one who has these issues. They do. And the subtle thing that's happening here that I don't feel like we talk about enough is that this is how you get caught up in someone else's experience of being lost and lacking direction. You're not the one who doesn't know what they want, right? They are. And maybe their actions scream partner material, but they say they're not ready. Or it's the other way around. They don't act like a partner, but they say they want to be one. That is not your problem. But what's really happening here is that they're making their problems your problems. They're scared. They struggle to trust. They're hesitant. They had bad experience in the past, and they tell you all of this expecting you to fix it or leave without taking any accountability or making moves to change. Meanwhile, it's still amazing when you're together, when when you're hanging out, when you're with them, and in the back of your mind, maybe you think about your leaving, but you worry you won't find anything better, and you want to stick around to see what it could become. Does that sound familiar? I know I'm getting so real with you right now, and if you feel called out right now, I'm just letting you know, again, like I said up top, there's no shame, there's no blame. These things happen when we get caught up in our feelings, and this is all wrapped up in our beliefs about ourselves and what we think we're worth, and also our beliefs about dating culture and is there anyone else out there who's better. But the mistake is leaning into potential, which is all in your head. It's not focusing on the cold hard facts. In reality, even if they're so amazing and they make you feel so special, this person is probably falling short in some way. That's why you feel doubt. That's why you feel like you want more of them. It's not because you're too needy or you're too anxious. It's probably because they're not consistent enough, or they don't show affection in the way you need it, or they're scared of commitment even though they act like a partner. That's a mind fuck. You're on the receiving end of all of these mixed signals, and instead of taking that as a sign they're not the right match, you're highlighting what's working and downplay what's not. I've been there. And what you have left, by the way, is a pile of excuses with the hope that they'll magically change sprinkled on top. So you keep waiting and you keep making excuses for them. You're in deep, you have real feelings for them, and it's harder and harder to get out. This was me in my last relationship. I made so many excuses for my ex and had way too much compassion for his upbringing to the point where I was abandoning myself in the relationship. And I kept thinking that I was the problem, when in reality, the problem was that we just weren't the right match. I'm not going to say he was the problem. It was the combination of us, like our dynamic. It just didn't work. And I so badly wanted it to because I could imagine what it would be like if it really worked, right? If he changed or if I changed. So, why do we make this mistake? Well, potential is intoxicating. Some of us love the idea of someone else changing and growing for us. Some of us love the idea of working on a project, right? And some of us struggle to face the reality when we have this initial really positive view of someone. There's also the dopamine factor. Like when you feel sparks with someone and dopamine floods your system, your brain obviously wants more of that. And that's why you gravitate towards someone you feel sparks with on a biological level. That gets your reward system going, and logic kind of goes out the window. So, how do we fix this mistake, right? How do we stop dating for potential? And the answer is focus on the facts, bring it back down to reality. What are they doing? What are they saying? Does it actually work for you? Or are you just molding yourself into someone that you're not, aka self abandonment, to make it work? What I want you to do is zoom out and look at the relationship objectively. Look at how they're showing up. And if you realize they're not actually up to your standard, and the only way this would really work is if they changed, then the best way to honor yourself is by walking away. Don't commit and invest more energy into something where the only way it would work is if they were a different person or if you were a different person. That is a sign you actually have to go find someone who's a better match as is. If you find yourself dating for potential, the best thing you can do other than leaving is write down everything that was missing, every need that went unmet, even when you spoke up about it, That's how you can move forward with more information. So next time you hit it off with someone, you won't settle for your needs not being met. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break here and get into the other two most common mistakes. Welcome back. We've got two more mistakes that I see people make when choosing who to commit to long term. The second mistake I kind of alluded to a little bit is not knowing or honoring your needs. I've made this mistake, and so many people I work with make this mistake too. This mistake is going into a long term relationship, not being able to name, like really articulate your list of non negotiable needs. Here's how this plays out. Like most relationships, it starts with an initial connection that feels special and different, and you keep moving forward into commitment because it feels good and you have fun together, which is important. And maybe you have this feeling of like, I just know that they're good for me. But then maybe you hit your first moment of conflict, or you're dealing with something difficult, or you need to rely on each other for the first time. And maybe they're going through like, they're on a 2 week trip that shakes things up a bit. There's a challenge and you have to deal with it together. Maybe they dismiss you or make your issue about them, or you find out that they suck at apologizing, or they completely shut down and withdraw and you can't have a conversation, right? Like something like that where it's like, "Oh, this person doesn't really know how to handle conflict with me." And then you might find out that you have very conflicting ideas around how a relationship should work. But you're already committed and you feel like this is the best option and you should just figure it out together because, this is relationships. Even though it's really painful and hard, you believe that relationships require hard work and this is normal. I mean, how many times have we seen this on the show with dating dilemmas? And I'm sure in your life you could think of maybe yourself or someone you know where this has happened. Like you're committed, you hit some roadblocks, and you kind of are just like white knuckling through making it work. And if that sounds familiar, like trust me, that was my situation too. In addition to dating for potential, I didn't know my needs. And every time my ex and I did have a conversation around how to improve our relationship, when it came time for me to speak up about what I needed, I choked. It was like my mind was blank. I couldn't say the words. I didn't have the words. I knew my needs weren't being met, but I didn't even feel safe to start trying to explain or exploring that because I was so worried about offending or hurting my ex or making him run away. Speaking up about your needs is scary. And when you don't know what they are, I mean, what are you supposed to do? So, the mistake here is not knowing your non negotiable needs before committing. You can't discuss them if you don't know what they are. And you basically get into this long term connection blind and have to deal with all this misalignment later because you don't even have the language for dealing with it because naming your needs is really hard. And why do we make this mistake? Because no one teaches us how to figure this out. And we live in a culture and society that sometimes portrays needs as having weak or less than. I certainly didn't have a model for this growing up. You may not have had one either, or maybe you were lucky and you did. But it's difficult to one, acknowledge and define your needs, and two, speak up about them when you've learned that having them makes you a burden or needy or hard to love. So, what's the fix? How do we avoid getting into a relationship where down the line you figure out you are really misaligned on something huge for you that's a deal breaker, but then you're already so far in that you're like, well, maybe I can settle for less. Maybe I can make it work. How do we avoid this? You avoid this by figuring out your needs and internalizing that they're not too much and learning how to communicate them early. It's easier said than done, but when you are able to articulate your needs, that means that you can vet people better in early dating because you know your true non negotiables. You can have a direct conversation about them when the time comes. You can easily tell if they're able to meet your needs in a relationship, like when you meet someone and when you're kind of going through it. And your partner will have an easier time meeting your needs because you can articulate them. It's a gift for your partner in a way to be like, hey, here's exactly what I need in this relationship to feel loved and happy and safe. That's amazing. Like that makes your relationship so much easier with the right person. Your needs are specific to you, by the way. Like everyone needs certain things in a relationship: respect, trust, affection, reciprocity, consistency. These should not be on your list of non negotiables because they're the baseline. When I say needs, I mean the things that are ultra specific to you. For example, one of my absolute non negotiable needs is that I need someone who I want to be there when shit hits the fan and when really good things happen to me. So for me specifically, that means a calm, non critical, and non judgmental presence when things go sideways and actually celebrating wins with me. That's a non negotiable. I wasn't going to settle for someone who threw blame around, who criticized me, or made me feel bad when I was already down about something or freaking out. I wouldn't stand for someone who minimized my success either. It didn't matter how great they were in other areas. So that's what I mean about non-negotiables. Like if anyone showed in early dating signs of not being able to meet that need, they were gone. And if you're listening to this, you're like, okay, I have no idea how to figure out my needs or how to articulate them. Definitely check out my needs masterclass. This is a 2-part masterclass on identifying your needs in a partner, how to use them to find an amazing match, and how and when to communicate them in a relationship. This is happening on June 22nd and June 29th, and you can get your spot in the show notes or go to datingintentionallypod.com/needs. Just know that if you can't make it live, there is still a replay, so you can sign up for that as well. And this is my most popular class that I've taught again and again, and people love it because it's so hands-on and you can walk away with your core list of needs. So you can sign up again at datingintentionallypod.com/needs or the link in the show notes. All right, this brings me to the third most common mistake that I'm seeing in my one-on-one sessions and with my friends and with people I talk to, like the people who message me on Instagram and everything. And that is ignoring your gut. This is kind of the other side of dating for potential, right? It's like you feel like something's off, but you ignore it. It's the inverse. So, your gut, by the way, is not anxiety talking. Your body usually knows before your brain does about these things. So, if you feel in your gut that something's off, trust it. Anxiety shows up more like a roller coaster feeling, like high emotions, loud thoughts, but your gut voice is quieter and it's easier to listen to when you're not emotionally activated. So, like, you're not going to be able to tap into your gut as easily when you're spiraling over someone not texting you or someone canceling a plan last minute or like mixed signals. You need to calm down first to be able to really tap into your gut feelings. This is how this mistake usually plays out. You meet someone amazing on paper. You know, they're the kind of person you think you'd be so great with. There's a lot there. You think they're attractive. The physical connection is good enough, or maybe it's really good. They're kind, stable, treat you well, all the things. But you're just not excited about the connection or the future of the relationship. And you stay because you hope that you'll get there. And logically, you know they're great. Like you can't point to anything that's wrong. And so you're like, "Wait, is it me? Like I think I just need to wait longer and the excitement will show up." I was in this for 8 months with someone in my early 20s, and I call him my post-college palate cleanser because after my crazy college time, like he was stable, predictable, and boring in a good way. He was 26, I was 22, we met in person, and I felt like I was dating an adult for the first time. Back then, I just remember feeling generally icked out though, even though I knew he was a good guy. Like he treated me so well, he was kind, we had fun together, we had similar interests. But back then, even though things were going great and things were progressing, like we had said I love you, we met each other's families, I was still kind of icked out by something. It was really confusing because he was kind, we had fun together, we had some similar interests, he took care of himself, the physical connection was solid, we wanted the same things like kids and marriage, and, on paper, again, I just couldn't point to anything. But ultimately, I broke up with him because in my gut, I was forcing it. I knew I was forcing it, and I felt a ton of relief when it ended because on some level, like, I just knew that it was wrong. Part of it was also probably the fact that I was 22 and not ready to find my person, and he was more ready to settle down. So the mistake is if you feel like you're forcing it, like forcing the attraction or the emotional connection or forcing yourself to spend time with them when you'd rather be doing something else, and then you choose to stay, that's a mistake. You're going to feel worse and worse as time goes on, even though you think as you get to know someone who's on paper awesome, that you think, "Oh, this is gonna show up," but it doesn't. It just doesn't. And I'm not talking about the first 3 dates, by the way. I'm talking about months and months. Like, obviously, early dating, it's a little bit different. We have to calibrate to someone new and get used to them and learn about them, but I'm talking about if you've made it past that stage and you are committed, right? We're talking about mistakes in commitment. If you're at that stage and you're forcing it, that is something to listen to. And I think we make this mistake because sometimes we so badly want it to work out. we're willing to settle because on some level that feels safer and better than being single again. So, how do you fix it? Well, know that in the future and as you're dating, there should be a level of desire to spend time together and a desire for a future together. You might not be head over heels for your partner every second of every day. They'll do things that annoy you. You'll feel lackluster about the relationship sometimes, but most of the time, like 80%, there will be feelings of satisfaction and contentment and generally excitement to be around them. Not an all consuming excitement, but like just something, a little feeling that you're like, oh, I'm so glad they're here. Here's an example. When Johnny and I were dating and he would come over on Fridays to spend the weekend with me, I used to feel so much calm and happiness when he walked through the door. I had just had this immediate feeling like, oh, yes, this is going to be a great weekend and I can relax. I didn't feel that with my post college palate cleanser guy. And it sucks when you know you have someone in front of you who's great, especially if they're great partner material long term, but you don't have strong feelings for them. They deserve someone who does, and you deserve someone who you feel excited about and feel genuine love for. It's hard to end something in this situation because it can be hard to name what's missing. And we definitely heard this on the other side, in my episode recently on emotional unavailability and just hearing what it's like to be on the other side of this. So, when in my situation, I was able to pin it on a lack of meaningful common interest, like being able to travel and adventure together, which he had no interest in when we were dating. I don't think that was the core reason why it wasn't working for me, but at least I could say something that I could pin it on, and I think it made it a little bit easier for him to move on. And of course, after the breakup, he went on a group trip to Africa and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, as one does. After that whole experience, I learned to listen to my gut more. And this skill came in handy over and over again in my dating journey. And by the time I met Johnny, my gut was way easier to listen to. And it takes practice. Listening to your gut is part of getting out of your own way so that you can move on quickly from the people who aren't the right fit long term and stay with the ones who are. And the sooner you can tap into this in the dating journey before you commit, or maybe early on in the commitment, the better, right? Look, I don't want you to make these mistakes in your dating journey. That's why I'm recording this right now. And every time I work with a client who has gone down one of these roads and hit a dead end, it's pretty clear in hindsight what happened. My goal for you is that if you've been in a situation where you made one of these mistakes, you can take what you've learned and apply it to future connections so you avoid them. Don't take it as like, oh, I can't trust again, or everyone sucks, or I'm undateable, I can't trust myself. No, we can take the data and the learnings and we can say, okay, next time I'm catching myself dating for potential, or next time I'm finding it hard to speak up about my needs, or next time I'm forcing it, I'm going to choose differently. I'm going to make a different choice so that I can have a different outcome. That's what this is all about. So, to recap, the mistakes we make in the commitment along the way are dating for potential, not focusing on the facts, not knowing your needs or how to communicate them and honor them, and ignoring your gut and forcing it. And here's what I want you to remember: you can't love someone into being ready to date you, you can't logic yourself into attraction, you can't suppress your needs forever, and you can't force alignment. That all needs to be there. And if you're listening to this and you're recognizing some of the patterns in your current relationship, I recommend listening to my episode about leaving a situationship. That's a recent one I did. Even if you're committed and you have, an actual relationship and it's not a situationship, this will help you navigate that choice. So I will link that in the show notes for you. Okay, so let's move on and talk about what to actually look for, right? We talked about what to avoid. Let's just quickly do a refresh on who we're committing to and why. So, if we're focusing on the facts, if we're honoring our needs and trusting our gut, getting into a healthy, reciprocal, long term relationship that actually feels good is going to look like this. It's going to look like your needs being clear to the other person and they're accepted by the other person. That means, again, knowing your needs and being able to say that out loud. And the person in front of you is like, yes, that is reasonable. Thank you for telling me, instead of taking your needs as a sign of a personal attack and putting you down for having them. It also looks like your gut telling you that you're in the right place, even if it's hard to trust that. It's on you to be able to keep your nervous system calm enough to let your gut speak up loud and clear on what to do and who's actually safe for you, because you have this information inside of you. You just need to learn how to tap into it. It'll look like no mixed signals, no empty promises, or making you wait for them to maybe be ready for commitment. We're done with that. The right person for you will be more or less ready. And if they're not going to look to you to solve that for them. It's also going to look like the reality of how they show up matches what you actually want. You're not making excuses for them. You're not being flexible and being easy and being the chill girl and oh, it's all good. No, you're both consistent. You both prioritize each other and put in effort and you both show up. And I'm telling you, when you find someone who's on your level, you're not going to question it as much. You're not going to have to come sign up for a one on one session with me or DM me or like ask all your friends about it. You might feel some anxiety because that's normal, but it's not going to be as loud and it's not going to feel like a roller coaster. It's going to feel more calm, predictable, and consistent. I want you to date the person who already shows up how you'd want someone to show up, and hopefully the rest will fall into place, right? Without any forcing it. A healthy relationship should not involve convincing yourself. Like, it shouldn't involve convincing yourself that they're good on paper, so you should stay, or convincing yourself that they'll change, so you should stay, or that they'll just magically meet your needs one day. It's the goal is to find someone where you don't have to abandon yourself to stay. And I believe that you can do it. I hope that this gives you clarity on the three main things that are in your control on what to avoid and what to look for instead. All right, and we'll take a break right here and get into our dating dilemma. All right, welcome back. I'm excited to get into this dating dilemma and just know that you can submit your dating dilemmas to the podcast in the show notes. All right, I, 30 female, just met this incredible guy, 35, where we align on all our life goals and similar interests. We haven't had the values conversation just yet. The only issue is that he recently filed for divorce approximately 4 months ago, where they're still going through the separation, splitting assets, etc. That takes some time in my country. Unfortunately, his partner cheated, and that's why they're separating. From what I understand, they were together for 10 years. This doesn't bother me at all, and I want to continue to pursue this. I'm just wanting some advice on protecting myself as I have a habit of falling quickly for guys and making sure that I don't end up as a rebound and also any warning signs I should be looking out for. I was already very clear about wanting a long term, stable relationship with children in the future, and he said he wants us to. Thank you. So, this ties into today's topic well, and I'm glad that you're trying to keep your eyes open and protect yourself. So, here are some things that you could look for, and this goes for everyone listening. If you're dating and you want to make sure that someone actually like their actions are aligning with their words. Like if he is serious about being serious, he will make time for you. He won't keep you guessing. He won't leave you on red. You're looking for someone who can jump in and say like, "Hey, I'm going to be off the grid most of the day, but I'm thinking about you and we can chat tomorrow." That is the energy you're looking for. That's someone who's ready for a relationship, who understands, you know, just how their actions affect another person. That level of awareness and communication is like the gold standard. If he is doing that, like if he's making time for you, if he's looping you in on his life, if he's curious about you, of course, all those things, those are all green flags. And sure, keep dating him. Bad signs to look for, right? Warning signs, if you're only hanging out at your place or like his place and you're not going on dates, if you're hooking up every time you see each other and just never going on dates, that's a pretty bad sign that they're just looking for something casual. Of course, inconsistency with communication without any explanation. Like it's one thing if they're inconsistent and they're just like, okay, this is just me, this is just how I am. But if they can give you some kind of like, hey, I'm usually on my phone at these times, this is when I work, blah, 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 like just so you know what to expect, that's great. But inconsistency without any comment or just like apologies and there's no change in their action, that's a huge red flag. I think any signs that they're not dating intentionally and they're kind of seeing if they talk about seeing other people, like they're talking about other dates they're having or being on the apps, booty calling you, making it sexual all the time, like those are signs that they're not serious. I mean, I think unfortunately, this is the hard part of dating. You have to keep going to really know. Like knowing what to look for is great, but there's nothing to do until you see signs either way, right? So you have to kind of keep going and keep your eyes open and don't excuse or ignore red flags, right? The second you see red flags, call it out, bring it up. That is the most important thing to do in a situation like this. And I want to flag one thing. in your dilemma. If you're the first person that they date after a divorce or a long-term relationship, that's a bit of a red flag. Not because they're a bad person or anything, it's just the timing. Most of the time when people get out of a long-term relationship, they want to explore a bit or they just don't want to be tied down or get into a long-term thing. I'm not saying always, but I know for me, it happened a lot where when I was dating, before I met Johnny, if I met someone who was freshly on the dating apps after a relationship, and if I was the first person they went out with, they usually ended up wanting to explore. So they would end it and be like, yeah, I'm not ready to be in a relationship. And I was. So again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with exploration. Just make sure he really knows what he wants. And I would press him further on his intentions because, yeah, maybe he ultimately wants to be married again or in a relationship, have kids. But in this moment, 4 months after filing for divorce or whatever, is he ready to dive into something again? That's something I would push him on a little bit more. I think it's great you were clear on what you want. It's great that you're keeping your eyes open, but your job is to call out red flags and press him a little bit further about what he really wants right now, right, with you. I hope this helps, and I want to thank you so much for submitting this. And this is a super relatable situation. I hope that this calms your nerves a bit and so that you have like an action plan moving forward. And that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you for trusting me. Don't forget, you're doing great. And if you know someone who is navigating dating and could use a confidence boost or fresh perspective, share this episode. And if this podcast has helped you, a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify goes a long way. Once again, I'm Talia. This is Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you next time. Wayfinder Life-Changing Travel is a podcast I've been loving lately. It's hosted by travel writer Daniel Scheffler, and it's all about the moments you can't plan for, the beauty, the blunders, and transformations that happen when you explore the world. The brand new season of Wayfinder features stories from places like Alaska and Uzbekistan. If you've ever dreamed of wandering the icy blue glaciers of Alaska or climbing a quiet minaret in Samankan for a secret view of the city below, you need to check out Wayfinder Life-Changing Travel wherever you get your podcasts.